Right now, as you're watching this, something fundamental has shifted in Europe. Something that most people won't fully understand until it's too late. And if you hold crypto, if you've ever thought about financial privacy, or if you believe you have any control over your own money, what I'm about to tell you will change the way you see the entire system. January 1st, 2026. That's the date everything changed. That's when a piece of legislation called DAC-8 officially came into force across every single member state of the European Union. And I need you to understand something right now. This isn't just another regulation. This isn't some bureaucratic footnote buried in legal documents that won't affect you. This is a total transformation of how cryptocurrency privacy works in Europe. And the implications go far beyond what most people realize. Let me be very clear from the start. If you live in any EU country, the idea of staying under the radar with your crypto holdings is over. It's not harder. It's not more complicated. It's finished. The infrastructure is already in place. The data collection has already begun. And whether you know it or not, whether you've been paying attention or not, the system is already watching. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. You've heard about regulations before. You've heard about compliance requirements. You've heard governments talk about cracking down on crypto for years. But this is different. This isn't talk. This isn't a proposal. This is operational reality. And the level of surveillance and control that DAC-8 enables is unlike anything we've seen before in the cryptocurrency space. So let me walk you through exactly what this means, why it matters, and why you need to understand this right now, whether you're holding Bitcoin, Ethereum, or any other digital asset. First, let's talk about mandatory reporting. Under DAC-8, every cryptocurrency exchange operating in Europe is now legally required to report detailed information about you directly to tax authorities. And when I say detailed, I mean everything. Your full identity, your tax identification number, and most importantly, every single transaction you make. Think about that for a moment. Every buy, every sell, every trade, every transfer, all of it is being collected, categorized, and transmitted directly to the government. This isn't voluntary. This isn't something exchanges can choose to do or not do. This is mandatory. This is the law. And every platform that wants to operate legally in Europe has no choice but to comply. Now you might be thinking, okay, but I'm careful. I use private wallets. I don't keep everything on exchanges. And that brings me to the second critical point you need to understand. There are no escape routes anymore. The surveillance system built into DAC-8 isn't just watching what happens on exchanges. It's designed to track the entire journey of your crypto assets. When you convert crypto to fiat currency, they see it. When you trade one cryptocurrency for another, crypto to crypto, they see it. And here's the part that catches most people off guard. When you transfer your assets to a so-called private wallet, a hardware wallet like Ledger or Trezor, they see that too. Let me explain why this matters. For years, one of the core principles that attracted people to cryptocurrency was the idea of financial sovereignty. The idea that you could hold your wealth outside the traditional banking system. The idea that you could move your money without asking permission, without intermediaries, without surveillance. Private wallets were supposed to be exactly that, private. A place where you controlled your keys, and therefore you controlled your coins away from the prying eyes of institutions. But under DAC-8, that transfer from an exchange to your private wallet gets flagged. It gets recorded, it gets reported. The authorities know you moved it, they know how much, they know when, and they have systems in place to track what happens next. Now, they might not see every transaction you make once it's in your private wallet, but they know it went there. They know the amount. And if that amount later reappears on an exchange, they can connect the dots. This is a level of financial surveillance that most people simply didn't see coming. And it's not theoretical. It's not something that might happen in the future. This is happening right now. But it gets even more serious. And this is where the real enforcement mechanism kicks in. Under DAC-8, if you refuse to provide your tax identification number, if you refuse to comply with Know Your Customer requirements, exchanges are not just encouraged to take action. They are legally required to freeze your account and lock your assets. Read that again. Legally required. This isn't a choice. This isn't a business decision. If you don't provide the information they demand, your funds get frozen. You lose access. You can't trade. You can't withdraw. You can't move your money. It's locked. And there's nothing you can do about it until you comply. Now, some of you might be thinking, okay, but I'll just use exchanges outside the EU. There are platforms based in other countries. I'll just move my business there. And that brings me to the fourth critical point, worldwide enforcement. DAC-8 doesn't just apply to exchanges physically located in Europe. Any exchange anywhere in the world that wants to serve European customers has to comply with these rules. If they don't, they get shut out of the European market entirely. And given that Europe represents one of the largest and wealthiest markets for cryptocurrency in the world, most exchanges simply can't afford to ignore this. So even if you use a platform based in Asia or North America or anywhere else, if that platform accepts European customers, they're bound by the same reporting requirements. They're collecting the same data. They're sending the same reports to the same authorities. There is no geographical escape hatch here. The net is global. Now let's step back and look at the bigger picture, because this isn't just about taxes. This isn't just about making sure people pay what they owe. This is about control. This is about surveillance. This is about fundamentally reshaping the relationship between individuals and the state when it comes to money. For decades, we've lived in a world where governments had significant control over traditional finance. Banks are regulated. Transactions are monitored. Large transfers get flagged. This is nothing new. But cryptocurrency represented something different. It represented a parallel system, a system that operated on different rules, a system where, at least in theory, individuals had more autonomy, more privacy, more control. And governments didn't like that, not because everyone using crypto was doing something illegal, but because they couldn't see it. They couldn't control it. They couldn't regulate it the way they regulate traditional money. And so, over the past several years, we've seen a coordinated global effort to bring cryptocurrency under the same surveillance and control infrastructure that governs traditional finance. DAC8 is the European manifestation of that effort, and it's incredibly sophisticated. The system they've built doesn't just collect data, it processes it, it analyzes it, it cross-references it. Tax authorities across Europe now have access to a level of detail about your crypto activity that they never had before, and they can see it in near real time. That phrase is important. Near real time. This isn't data that gets collected once a year and filed away. This is continuous monitoring. This is an ongoing surveillance system that tracks your crypto footprint as it happens, and the infrastructure to do this is already operational. Data collection for the year 2026 is already underway, right now, as you're watching this. If you've made a transaction on a European exchange since January 1st, that data has already been collected. It's already in the system. It's already being prepared for transmission to tax authorities. Now, I want to be very clear about something. I'm not here to tell you whether you should or shouldn't pay taxes. That's not the point. The point is understanding what's happening. The point is recognizing the shift. The point is seeing that the promise of financial privacy, the promise of autonomy, the promise that attracted so many people to cryptocurrency in the first place, is being systematically dismantled. And Europe isn't alone in this. Around the world, governments are implementing similar frameworks. The United States has its own reporting requirements. Other jurisdictions are following suit. What we're witnessing is a global coordinated effort to eliminate the privacy aspects of cryptocurrency and bring it fully under state control. Some people will argue this is a good thing. They'll say it prevents money laundering. They'll say it stops tax evasion. They'll say it protects consumers. And there's some truth to that, but there's also a cost. And that cost is privacy. That cost is autonomy. That cost is the fundamental right to conduct your financial affairs without constant surveillance. Think about this in the context of traditional finance. When you use cash, there's still some level of privacy. When you make a small purchase, when you conduct everyday transactions, no one is tracking every single move. But in a fully digital, fully surveilled crypto environment under systems like DAC8, that privacy disappears entirely. Every transaction, no matter how small, is recorded. Every movement of funds is tracked. Every wallet you interact with is logged. This is what China has been building with its digital yuan, a currency where every transaction is visible to the state, where money can be programmed with restrictions, where financial behavior can be monitored and controlled at a level that was never possible with physical cash. And while DAC8 doesn't go quite that far yet, it's a significant step in that direction. Now let's talk about what this means practically for anyone holding crypto in Europe right now. If you haven't already, you need to understand that your privacy is gone. If you're using any exchange that operates in Europe, your data is being collected. Your transactions are being reported. Your crypto footprint is being mapped. If you thought you could quietly accumulate Bitcoin or Ethereum or any other asset without anyone knowing, those days are over. If you thought you could move money between wallets and exchanges without leaving a trace, you were wrong. The system sees it. The system records it. And the system is designed to make sure nothing slips through the cracks. And here's what makes this particularly concerning. Once this infrastructure is in place, once governments have this level of visibility and control, it's very difficult to roll back. Surveillance systems tend to expand, not contract. Powers that governments grant themselves are rarely given up voluntarily. What starts as a system to track crypto transactions can easily evolve into something much more comprehensive. We've seen this pattern before in other areas. Anti-terrorism laws that were supposed to be temporary become permanent. Surveillance powers that were supposed to be narrowly targeted get broadly applied. The infrastructure of control, once built, finds new uses. So when I say crypto privacy in Europe is over, I'm not exaggerating, I'm not being dramatic. I'm stating a fact based on the legal framework that is now in force. And if you're not paying attention to this, if privacy isn't on your radar yet, you're already late. This is the new reality. Now, what can you do about it? That's a complicated question, and the answer depends on your specific situation, your risk tolerance, and your goals. Some people will choose to comply fully, provide all requested information, and accept that their crypto activity is now as transparent to the government as their bank account. That's a valid choice. Others will look for alternatives. Some will explore decentralized exchanges, though even those are coming under increasing regulatory pressure. Some will look at privacy-focused cryptocurrencies, though those are being targeted specifically by regulators. Some will consider moving their residency, though that's obviously a major life decision not to be taken lightly. But whatever you choose, you need to make that choice with full awareness of what's happening. You need to understand the system you're operating in. You need to recognize that the landscape has fundamentally changed. And this isn't just about Europe. This is a global trend. What happens in Europe influences policy worldwide. Other jurisdictions are watching. Other governments are learning. The techniques, the technology, the legal frameworks being developed under DAC-8 will be studied and adapted by countries around the world. We're at a turning point. We're watching the transformation of cryptocurrency from a tool of financial freedom into just another asset class under state control. And whether that's good or bad depends on your perspective. But it's happening, and it's happening fast. So here's my message to you. Wake up, pay attention, understand what's being built, understand the systems being put in place, understand that every promise of privacy, every assurance of anonymity, every guarantee of financial freedom needs to be examined critically in light of regulations like DAC-8. The world of cryptocurrency has changed. The rules have changed. The surveillance has become comprehensive. And if you're still operating under old assumptions, if you still think you can fly under the radar, if you still believe your private wallet means private activity, you're living in a reality that no longer exists. This is the new world. This is the new system. This is what total financial transparency looks like. And it started on January 1st, 2026, with DAC-8 in Europe. The question now is, what are you going to do about it?